like many Sister Wives fans, I've been doing a rewatch. And what's interesting is we just got to the episode, season 2, episode 9, where Robyn, Kody, and Meri go down to Vegas to try to buy some houses or rent some houses, which gives me such anxiety because they want to move in like 10, 11 days. And they don't have any place to live. And so I'm getting anxiety. And what's interesting is they talk at the beginning of the episode and Cody's like, yeah, we have to move. And Christine's like, I don't think we should move. It's going to destroy the family. And however you feel, I remember thinking that Christine was being, when I watched it the first time, like a million years ago, I remember thinking that Christine was, maybe wasn't being a little realistic, even though there was a lot of red flags. I remember thinking like there was a lot of red flags, but it still also seemed like unrealistic to say that she was going to stay. But now, first of all, she was right. It did tear the family apart. And what is really interesting is a lot of stuff that they sort of hinted at, like when they arrive in Vegas, Robyn's like, oh yeah, my dad's going to show us around because he's lived in this area. He lived in this area for a long time and is familiar with it. We never see any more of her dad. But that's already like in retrospect, now that we know that Robyn gets whatever she wants, that's like a little bit of like a, what? And then the other part was one of the first things that Robyn says in this episode is like, wow, could you imagine one of these cul-de-sacs if we owned like 4 of these houses? And I'm like, isn't it interesting? Of all the places they could have moved, they moved to the place where Robyn has family. And what she envisioned, which is the 4 houses in the cul-de-sac, is what they ended up getting. They're talking about how there's no polygamous homes there. And I'm like, well, yeah, it's Vegas. Of course there's not. But they could have moved to a million other states other than Utah. They could have moved to Wyoming. They could have moved anywhere in Nevada. Like I've told this story a million times. We saw, when we were looking here, we're in Colorado, we looked at a polygamous home on accident. We didn't mean to, but we looked at this house and we're like, this is such a strange layout. There's this huge room with like 10 bunk beds in it. And then downstairs was a second master bedroom. And we were like, what is going on? And then we were like, this is a polygamous house. And sure enough, we actually, when we went back upstairs to the living room, they had like some literature out, sort of hidden. So it's kind of one of those things where I at the time recognized that Robyn was more excited about this move than anyone else seemed. Meri was sort of like, this needs to happen. Janelle, is so quiet. It's always hard to tell. Christine was very vocal that this was a bad idea. But it's really interesting because they're like, well, there's none of these big houses, so we're going to have multiple houses. And Robyn's like, oh, wouldn't it be great to have? And guess what? Guess who got what they wanted? Very, very interesting to watch this show after having seen all 17 seasons.